If you were born before 1965 and you have a bank account, what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could be the most important thing you watch this year. Not because it's dramatic, because it's real. And because the people losing money to this aren't careless people. They're sharp, careful, lifelong workers who did everything right and still got cleaned out in a matter of hours. The American Bankers Association, the FDIC, and individual banks across the country have been issuing formal warnings to their customers, specifically to older Americans, about a set of behaviors they are now actively telling you to stop. Not suggestions, not tips. Formal warnings backed by federal consumer protection agencies. Most people never saw those warnings, and the ones who didn't take them seriously enough. I went through all of it so you don't have to. Everything I'm covering today applies to anyone who receives Social Security on a card, visits a bank branch, or uses an ATM. That's practically every retired American in this country. Stay with me through this, and when we're done, please share it with someone you care about, because this is the kind of information that only helps if it reaches the right person before something goes wrong. Now, let me start with the thing that has been escalating the fastest in 2026, and the one that banks are now warning customers about directly, face-to-face, inside branch locations all over the country. There is a scheme currently in circulation that empties senior bank accounts in a matter of hours. It doesn't start online. It doesn't start with a phone call. It starts in person at the ATM or inside the bank itself. Banks are now telling older customers directly, the people standing near you at the ATM are not always innocent bystanders. This year, the American Bankers Association issued a formal fraud alert following documented cases where criminals place physical cash trapping devices inside ATM machines. A small device inserted into the cash dispenser slot that catches your bills as they come out. The machine shows the transaction is completed. You see nothing come out. You assume the machine malfunctioned. You walk away. The criminal removes the trap the moment you leave and walks off with your money. Here's what you need to know if this ever happens to you. If you use an ATM, the transaction goes through, and no cash comes out, do not walk away. Stay at that machine. Call your bank immediately from where you are standing. Ask them to notate the transaction before you leave. That one step protects you in a way that walking away does not. And that brings us to the first formal rule that banks are now communicating to older customers across the country. Your card never leaves your hand. Not to a stranger who offers to help. Not to a bank employee outside a secured teller window. Not to anyone. And here is why this matters in ways most people don't think about. A device called a skimmer, or its newer version called a shimmer, can read every piece of information on your card in under 3 seconds of physical contact. The shimmer fits inside the card slot and reads the chip, not just the magnetic strip. You would not see it. You would not feel it. 3 seconds of someone else holding your card is all it takes. If you have trouble using the ATM yourself, ask a uniformed bank employee inside the branch. Not the person behind you in line, not someone who approaches you in the parking lot. Inside the branch, uniformed staff only. If someone near an ATM reaches for your card, walk into the branch. Before I keep going, I want to mention something. What I'm covering today barely scratches the surface of what's documented in the full breakdown I put together for this channel. It covers these banking threats in detail, the exact steps to take if you think you've already been targeted, and the protections most seniors don't know they already have. I put it all in one place so it's easy to keep and share. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the code on your screen right now to access it directly. Because what I'm about to show you next, the fifth rule on this list, is the one that catches people off guard the most. Not at the ATM, not on the phone, sitting right there at the teller counter with a friendly employee sliding paperwork across to you. Rule 2, your PIN is protected every single time, no exceptions. The ABA's official consumer guide is explicit about this. Cover the keypad with your other hand every time you enter your PIN, even if nobody appears to be nearby. There are documented cases where small mirrors, cameras disguised as accessories, and recording devices placed near ATM keypads captured customers' PINs, while those customers believed they were completely alone. When a bank employee helps you with a transaction at the teller window, that employee is required by bank policy to look away when you enter your PIN. That is not courtesy, that is protocol. If they don't look away, you are fully within your rights to say it directly. Please turn your head while I enter my PIN. Any legitimate bank employee will not only comply, they'll understand immediately. Rule 3, inside the bank, your phone stays in your hands. This one catches people off guard because refusing feels rude. A bank employee asks to see your phone to help you set up an app or troubleshoot an account issue. You hand it over, it feels like normal, helpful service. Here is what the banks are now warning about. With your phone and an open banking app, someone has direct access to your accounts. In documented cases, a phone held by the wrong person for 30 seconds was enough to transfer funds, add their own device as a trusted contact, or install remote access software that gave them ongoing control of the account long after you left the branch. Legitimate bank employees help by explaining what steps to take. You enter the information yourself. If someone insists they need to physically hold your SOSI phone to assist you, ask to speak with the branch manager. That is a completely reasonable request. Any legitimate bank will honor it without hesitation. Social Security and tax rules change every year, and nobody from the government calls to explain what it means for you. That's exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss it when something new comes out. Now, Rule 4, and I want you to stay with me on this one because it is the most dangerous scheme on this entire list. The one bank's flagged specifically as the fastest growing financial fraud targeting seniors in 2026. Never, under any circumstances, withdraw cash from your bank and deposit it into a cryptocurrency ATM because someone told you to. I know how that sounds. It sounds like something no one would ever do. The FBI and AARP both report that people who fall for this scheme are not naive. They are sharp, educated, cautious people who spend decades making careful decisions with their money. That matters. Because if you think it can't happen to you, that's exactly the condition that makes it possible. Here is how it works. You receive a call or a message from someone claiming to be from the IRS, Social Security, Medicare, or law enforcement. They tell you your account has been compromised, or you owe back taxes, or someone has stolen your identity and your funds need to be protected immediately. They sound official, they know your name. Sometimes they know details about your finances. They tell you to withdraw cash from your bank, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, and deposit it into a Bitcoin ATM or cryptocurrency kiosk. They tell you this is the only safe way to protect your money. The moment cash goes into that machine, it is gone. It cannot be reversed. It cannot be traced. It cannot be recovered. Let me do the math live so it lands. The average loss in these cases, according to documented reports, runs between $15,000 and $50,000. That is not a recoverable number for most retired Americans living on a fixed income. That is a life-altering loss. Indiana became the first state to ban cryptocurrency ATMs entirely in March of 2026. Tennessee and Minnesota followed. As of May 2026, 30 states had passed laws restricting crypto kiosk operations specifically because of this scheme, and banks are responding inside their own branches. Employees are now trained to intervene when an older customer makes an unusually large cash withdrawal because in many of these cases, the person is literally on the phone with the scammer while they're standing at the teller window. If a bank employee asks why you're making a large cash withdrawal, answer honestly. They are not being intrusive. They may be the last line of defense between you and a total loss. Here is something worth keeping in your memory permanently. The real IRS, the real Social Security Administration, and real law enforcement do not instruct anyone to move money into cryptocurrency. Not once. Not ever. Not under any circumstances. If someone tells you otherwise, hang up and call your bank directly. Let me place a man here so this doesn't stay abstract. His name is Gerald. He's 71 years old, a retired electrician from outside Columbus, Ohio. He got a call last fall from someone who said his Social Security number had been used to open 3 fraudulent accounts in Texas and that federal agents had already frozen 2 of them. The caller knew his address. The caller knew the name of his bank. Gerald drove to his branch, withdrew $22,000 in cash money he and his wife had set aside for emergencies, and deposited it into a crypto kiosk at a gas station a mile away. Gerald is not a foolish man. He spent 40 years reading electrical diagrams and keeping people safe on job sites. He just didn't know the playbook. Now he does, and so do you. Rule 5, read before you sign, every time. This one happens inside the branch, at the counter, with a friendly employee moving at a pace that makes slowing down feel rude. Banks are now giving formal instruction to their customers on this. You are never obligated to sign anything you have not read. The fine print is where the consequential things live. Automatic increases to a line of credit, consent to share your data with third parties, enrollment in fee-based services you didn't request. All of these have appeared in documents that customers signed quickly without reading. If someone hands you paperwork and seems to be rushing you, say it clearly. I need a moment to read this. No legitimate bank can require you to sign without reading. If they push back on that request, ask for a supervisor. If you see a charge or a service on your bank statement that you don't recognize, call the bank and ask whether you signed any authorization for it. And if you believe you signed something under pressure without understanding what you were agreeing to, you have the right to file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau at consumerfinance.gov. Now, one more thing before I bring this home, and this is something most people don't know their bank even offers. In many states, banks are now required to offer what's called a trusted contact system. You designate a family member or trusted person whose name goes on file. They cannot move your money, cannot access your accounts, cannot make decisions on your behalf. What they can do is be contacted by the bank if the bank detects unusual activity that might suggest fraud or financial exploitation. It is a safety net, not a transfer of control. If your bank offers it and you haven't set it up, it's worth a conversation the next time you're in the branch. Now let me walk through this with you one more time, step by step, so it sticks. Cash trapping devices inside ATMs are a documented threat in 2026. If your cash doesn't come out after a completed transaction, do not leave. Call your bank from that spot immediately. Your card never leaves your hand at an ATM. 3 seconds is enough for a shimmer to read everything on it. If someone reaches for your card, walk into the branch. Cover the keypad every time you enter your PIN, even when you think you're alone. Ask bank employees to look away at the teller window. That is your right as a customer. Your phone stays in your hands inside the bank. Legitimate employees explain the steps. You do the typing. No government agency, not the IRS, not the SSA, not Medicare, not law enforcement, will ever tell you to protect your money by putting cash into a crypto ATM. If someone says that, it is a scam. Hang up, call your bank, read everything before you sign it, take your time, ask for a supervisor if you're being rushed, and consider setting up a trusted contact with your bank if that option is available to you. You did nothing wrong by not knowing all of this. The system doesn't mail you a warning when new schemes come out. The banks issue these guidelines, but they don't always reach the people who need them most. That's the only reason I make these videos, to get this information to you before it costs you something. If someone you know receives Social Security or visits a bank branch, and that's most people, share this with them, not because it's interesting, because it could stop something from happening that can't be undone. And tell me in the comments, did any of these surprise you? Or maybe you've seen something at an ATM or inside a branch that felt off and you weren't sure what to make of it? Drop it down below. I read every single one. The people who know this stuff protect themselves and the people around them. That's the whole point of being here.